Hello, Odooers, and welcome to the webinar on optimizing high-ticket manufacturing and subcontracting. My name is Travis Prickett. I'm a senior strategic account executive here at Odoo, and I've been with the company for about 2.5 years. And today, during our webinar, we'll be going over kind of the whole manufacturing module and everything that it offers, and specifically getting into the scheduling element and subcontracting. To first go through a little bit of an agenda today, we're going to go through an introduction, kind of, that's where we are right now. We're going to talk about Odoo a little bit, what we offer, who we are as a company. And then we're going to kind of get into the manufacturing, give a general overview. And then we're going to get into specifics with the master production scheduler, subcontracting, and then we're going to finally have a conclusion. So Odoo, we were a company founded in the early 2000s. We're still privately owned. We have about 12 million users worldwide. We have over 88 individual modules, and we have a pretty vast partner network, and we have quite a few employees across the whole globe. As far as what Odoo's good at, very easy from a scalability standpoint. It's very easy to add in users, and it's very easy to add in extra apps. There's no need to, have a predefined, business plan when using Odoo. We're very scalable and very flexible in terms of what modules you use and what modules you don't use. Very easy to customize the software as well. It's through an object-based module called Studio, and it allows you to fully customize any view that you see in Odoo. And to learn a little bit more, you'll have to watch another webinar or go to one of our lovely YouTube channels that we have, and you can very easily watch a video on it. Also, Odoo does automation very well. We're going to have, throughout this whole process, we're going to see a plethora of documentation get generated, and I'm going to be doing nothing to generate that documentation. Odoo has a very strong traceability in terms of just seeing when things are moving in the system and just creating logs and documentation. It's a couple things that people misunderstand about Odoo is our pricing. Our pricing is just per user. So as long as you have one user with us, you actually get access to every single module we offer. And they all talk to each other, all the modules. And sometimes people can get a little bit overloaded by how many applications we offer. You don't have to use an application if you don't want to. It's entirely whatever's going to be best for you and your business. So to get straight into manufacturing, we're going to be kind of planning a manufacturing order. We're going to talk about the overview and everything. So to get here into our manufacturing module, right here on the dashboard, this is just the overview. We can see our work centers that we have. A work center is specifically where we are processing a manufacturing order. And so a manufacturing order is composed of work orders. And I can see here that in the assembly one, I have a couple work orders that are ready to launch. In the drill station, I have a couple that are ready to launch. I can see my operational efficiency here. And I can see if any orders are late. And if I click this button here, it would actually bring me straight into the shop floor module, which if you want to learn a little bit more about that module, it's essentially the connection between the back-end software and actually performing the task. Whatever you're sanding or assembling something, you have your iPad there or your laptop in front of you. The shop floor module is going to be best suited for that. It is closely connected to the manufacturing module, but I'm not going to be getting into it because it can get a little complicated. So first thing I want to cover is our bill of materials. We can't produce anything without having a bill of materials. So we can immediately see here our components that are in the bill of materials, how many units we're consuming, and then we have our operations, which are basically going to be our instructions. What work centers does this have to flow through? How long is it going to be here? And you can even attach extra instructions to these individual steps that will populate elsewhere in the database. You just click right here and it'll bring you into a menu to start doing that. We can also set up our consumption. Are we allowed to consume this item without, necessarily having the parts on hand? It kind of depends how nuanced your manufacturing process is. We also have manufacturing lead time as well, which can be a little important. This is how many days from planning to actually, doing it do we want to have? Do we need to, check inventory or anything like that? The main thing that I want to cover, though, is the BOM overview here at the top. This will give me a breakdown of our BOM. You can see it is keeping track of how many units we're producing, how much it's going to cost, and we can see the individual operations and how much an operation is going to cost us. So not only can Odoo be used for tracking your material, it can also be used for tracking your time. And you can see here we actually have a sub bill of materials, which is associated right here. And if I hit this forecast button up here in the top right, it'll actually show me what it would look like to produce this item. So to produce a table right now, we actually have all of our parts in stock, except for this tablecloth. We have to buy one. What's the earliest I can get here? Right here. So Odoo right here on this BOM overview, I can very easily see how long it's going to take me to build this item. how many units do we have on hand? So I can see right here, we actually have 30 table legs ready to go. 30 are used. We have 50 in stock, 20 are reserved. So right here from the bill of materials, we can immediately see what our inventory status is if we wanted to produce something like this. And this is a very cool integrated feature that we have. Your BOMs can be as complicated as possible. If you have a bunch of BOMs nested within a bill of materials, that's totally okay. Something the system can handle 100%. One thing that is pretty cool is we can take a look at all of our manufacturing orders right here, and we can use this search bar to group them however we want. So if I want to go ahead and break it down by product, I can go ahead and do that. I can spit it out into a calendar view and see when we have all of these work orders scheduled. I can even spit it out into a pivot table if I want to get really specific with some reporting. Same thing is true with also the graph view up here. I can spit it out into a pie chart, and I can click on this pie chart here and it'll give me a breakdown of what we're looking at. So super straightforward there as far as a reporting perspective. And this is universal across all of Odoo's modules. So to get here into one of our manufacturing orders, we need to go here into one of our tables. And something that's really cool is our smart buttons up at the top. This shows us everything that's related to this object in the system. So I can see to produce this table, we actually have a child manufacturing order. So we have a sub bill of materials. We're subcontracting out a specific part. That's why we have a purchase order associated to it. And then this allocation button. This allocation button actually allows us to associate a manufacturing order with a sales order. So I can click right here and I can see we have a sales order 35 here, and we have 2 manufacturing orders that I can associate with this sales order. And I can go ahead and hit this assign all button. I can come back into the sales order right here, and I can see that we have a manufacturing order associated with this. If I actually hit this preview button on the sales side of things, it brings me to the customer front end, and we can actually see here that a manufacturing order is now associated. So the customer can actually check up on those dates that you have and when your items are going to be produced. So to go back into manufacturing here, we have all of our manufacturing orders, and I can see the status of them when things are available. And of course, we have to make sure that we plan these. So I can very easily come in here and plan them. And now I can go to this planning tab and see planning by production. And I can see all of my work orders and when they're actually planned on out. So I can very easily see what's going on. I can also go in here and get a breakdown from a work center perspective instead of a individual manufacturing order perspective. And I can actually schedule these on around if I need to. So I can very easily just drag them on out. I can see, oh, hey, assembly 2's free right here. Let's go ahead and start moving some things down here. And I can see it's actually set the status here from red to green, showing that there was a scheduling conflict. Which brings me to actually setting up our work centers. So we can see here, assembly 1, a little bit overloaded. On Tuesday the 20th, we have over 5 manufacturing orders coming in here to assembly 1, but none on assembly 2. Well, to set up our work centers, we go configuration, work centers, and we can very easily come in here and see our cost per hour and our time efficiencies. So I can click here into assembly 1, and we can set up specific things here. So I can go ahead and say, hey, what's our time efficiency? Do we have a setup time, a cleanup time? Are we only allowing specific employees? What's our cost per hour? We can even set up specific product capacities. Maybe we're working on a smaller item and we can work on 2 at the same time. And we can also directly associate equipment with this individual work center, which is pretty cool. This literally looks directly into the maintenance module. And I can very easily see what equipment we have associated here with this work center. And I would also be able to click on the smart button if we had any existing maintenance orders on this. So one thing that you're getting with Odoo is you're getting a comprehensive solution. Same thing is true with also this maintenance tab here. We can see if we have a specific maintenance team or a specific technician, and our employees actually from the shop floor module would be able to create quality alerts either to the quality control team or our maintenance team if there needs to be repairs done. We also have IoT, which stands for Internet of Things. Not getting into the specifics for this one, but it's essentially the connection between the physical world and the virtual world. If we had a quality check where we're measuring a piece of lumber or something, and we have a laser measurer going across, and we want to have it record that measurement in the database, this is how we do it through IoT. So it's a pretty cool feature if you have a pretty advanced setup. And of course, something that's very cool with Odoo is the scalability factor. App overload is a thing. It's a real problem. But with Odoo, if you don't have the IoT module, the maintenance module installed, you're not even going to see these tabs here in the manufacturing module. But as soon as you install those tabs, you're going to get them. So, right now, you might not have any piece of hardware directly connected to your software, but in the future, that might be something that you want. So that's kind of the overview for manufacturing. I kind of want to get into the master production scheduler, but let's first cover our work orders. I briefly forgot to talk about this, and the work orders are what compose a manufacturing order. So I can very easily come up here and run a group by manufacturing order. And so you can see manufacturing order 26 actually has 6 individual steps that has to go through to be produced. So, we have to assemble it, we have to pack it, we have to test it. And we can actually see here that these operations are blocked from a planning perspective. So if I go here into the calendar view, we would be able to see that reflected here. The work orders actually have to happen in a specific order. Now, to get to kind of the more planning side of things, we need to go into our master production scheduler. The master production scheduler looks a little complicated, but I can assure you it's fairly straightforward. I simply come up here, I add in a product, and I say, hey, we want to go ahead and produce our table. And our table, it has a sub bill of materials. It has a purchase order that needs to be associated with it. So I can make sure that's right there. And, our tables are fairly complicated and we do them in batches of 5. And I want to go ahead and make sure that we have 100 units on hand. So I can very easily just go ahead and hit save in here, and we can see how many units we need to produce right here under our forecasted stock. And I can go ahead and hit this order button, and it's actually going to generate all of these manufacturing orders for me, and I'll show that in a second. So if I come here to operations manufacturing orders, we can actually see down here all of these manufacturing orders got generated from our MPS. So I can very easily come up here and go ahead and plan all of our orders, then come to this planning by production here. I want to go planning by work center, and I can actually see for the next month what my work center is going to look like. So I can go to the month breakdown here, and I can see what units we're producing on what day. So we can see that it auto scheduled out all of the nuanced subs tasks that are there. If I go into one of these manufacturing orders that just got generated by MPS, we can actually see that it generated the sub manufacturing order and the purchase order associated with it for the subcontracted item. So from a long-term forecasting perspective, Odoo's manufacturing is going to have your back. You're going to be able to queue up whatever manufacturing orders you need, and then we're going to know exactly based off of the material availability, work center availability, and even up to individual shop floor employees. If you have some employees and you need to make sure their shifts are covered, Odoo will be able to handle that for you. To kind of get into what it looks like to process a subcontracted item, it's pretty straightforward. I'm going to go briefly into the product profile for that item to show you how we have it set up. And it's simply down to this inventory tab. We have it set as a buy route, and we have MTO turned on, which is in the inventory customized routes, or I believe multi-step routes, to turn it on. If you have any questions, just feel free to shoot me an email and I can help you with getting that set up. But if you just Google Odoo MTO, you'll find how to turn on. It's a little bit of a hidden feature. It's because it's more advanced and we want it to be a little bit more accessible. And then we need to make sure we have our vendor purchase set up here. And then every time we generate a manufacturing order, it will automatically generate a purchase order for that item. And to kind of show what it looks like to produce one of these items, let me go ahead and go into one of our manufacturing orders. I'll just generate one manually right here. So for our table item, we are going to go ahead and produce this item. So I can go ahead and hit confirm. It's generated everything that we needed to on the back end. First, let's go ahead and go to this child bill of materials, and I can go ahead and produce it. So I'm just kind of brute forcing it right now, but you can set it up a little bit nuanced to have to go through quality checks or anything else that you need to. But we have our availability for our tablecloth here, and now I can go for our table top that we produced, and we can actually see here on the purchase order side of things, all those manufacturing orders that we just generated purchase orders associated with them. And obviously, we don't want to be overwhelming our vendor with 30 purchase orders in one day. We can see Odoo actually here has condensed down 21 manufacturing orders into one purchase order. So I could very easily just go ahead and hit the confirm button here to go ahead and receive our items and say, hey, yeah, this is happening. And I can go right here. This is bringing me into the inventory module, and I can go ahead and validate these items. So I'm just going to go ahead and say, hey, we moved them into inventory. Super straightforward. But now we need to go back to our manufacturing order. Of course, one of the key UI elements here with Odoo is our breadcrumbs up here at the top left. This allows me to navigate back to where I was. So I can very easily just click right here and see, hey, we actually don't have any table legs on hand, but, I'm here doing the order, and I can go ahead and just produce this right now. And it'll brute force that. Those table legs were reserved for another manufacturing order, but, we prioritized this one. We went ahead and had it go ahead without that. So we produced our item, and then we can associate this with a sales order if we need to, but it's pretty straightforward there. that kind of covers the basics for subcontracting and kind of dealing with it and actually managing a manufacturing order. To kind of get into some other specifics here, this is how a subcontracting kind of fits together. We have all of these different modules and they all talk to each other. So in that workflow I just showed, we start off in the manufacturing module, and then we had to briefly touch the purchase module to confirm our purchase order. And then we had to go to inventory to actually receive those products in. And the inventory module talks to the manufacturing module. Manufacturing talks to the purchase module. And, we can even have the inventory module talk to sales as far as a forecasting perspective. So all of the modules are not necessary to run through that workflow, but in order to get all the documentation that gets generated automatically, you do need those modules. And that's the beauty of Odoo, is as long as you have one user with us, you actually get access to every piece of software you could possibly need. To get a little bit back into the software side of things, I briefly want to talk about our planning side of things. I want to show the planning by Work Center here and kind of what it looks like to schedule things around. So these arrows here are showing me the dependencies. So I actually have an operation here to produce one of our units, and I can see that it needs to go through this step before it goes here. And if I drag it on over here, we can actually see that it's warning me, hey, we can't really have these go at the same time. And if I actually put this one ahead of time, it's going to draw my attention right there and say, hey, we actually need to touch this and kind of fix this. So Odoo's scheduling will help you out from a long-term planning perspective. And it's very easy to just drag something over here and say, hey, we're going to go ahead and start this right here. And now we're good to go. So super easy from a manufacturing perspective on a scheduling element to see everything tied together. So it's pretty straightforward to prioritize those hot ticket items. And you can very easily just click right in here and come in and take a look at the work order. So I'm taking a look at the work order right now. I can see any time that's already going on. I can see the components that would be consumed specifically at this step if you have that configured. And of course, any specific instructions. And we can see what work orders it would be blocked by. Here on this specific one, I don't have that set up, but I'm sure in your guys' databases, they'll be set up. As far as everything else goes, just to kind of show you the configuration settings I have turned on. One thing that is pretty cool with Odoo is all of our settings and software is directly integrated with our own documentation. So if I want to know how to set up subcontracting, you literally go configuration settings in the manufacturing module, and you can actually click this little question mark right here, and it just opens it up in a new tab in Odoo's own documentation. We have a full team of technical writers, and they make sure Odoo's documentation is updated every single version. Honestly, our documentation is a very strong element of Odoo. It's very easy to come up here and look into it. Even here on the documentation page, it's walking us through the three different types of subcontracting. I showed you the basic subcontracting, and then resupply on subcontractor is basically shipping the elements out to our subcontractor and then receiving a finished good. And then drop shipping is they basically send it straight out to the customer. So there are multiple types of subcontracting. I kind of just handled the most basic one. So in conclusion here, to kind of talk about what Odoo can do, Odoo's manufacturing can integrate with any other module that we have pretty much. And even if it's not a default connection, one can be made through Studio. Manufacturing forecasting, no matter how complicated a BOM is, all those little nuanced elements of, am I getting a purchase order from this? Is it a bill of materials within a bill of materials within a bill of materials? No matter how complex it gets, Odoo's manufacturing planning and forecasting has your back. And Odoo's extremely customizable to fit your business needs, especially through our Studio tool, which I very much so encourage you to check out. It's a very cool piece of technology, and we have tons of videos and webinars on it. And if you want to see it specifically from me, please send me an email, trpr@odoo.com. I'd be happy to sit down with you, have a one-on-one demo, walk you through your specific workflow, and even show you what Studio does. Make sure you use the right tool for whatever job you're using, and that tool is going to be Odoo. Thank you so much for attending our webinar today on manufacturing and subcontracting and MPS. And thank you so much for your time. Thank you, Odooers. Please feel free to reach out to me at trpr@odoo.com.